One of Stoicism's greatest legacies is its rational, objective approach to dealing with negative emotions, such as discouragement. According to the Stoics, human suffering often stems not from what happens to us, but from how we interpret those situations. This idea is especially relevant for times when we feel lost or unmotivated. Discouragement, so common in times of uncertainty, can cloud our judgment and lead to inaction. This is where Stoicism shines. It teaches us to separate emotions from clear thinking, allowing us to make wiser decisions and act with purpose. For those who feel overwhelmed by discouragement, Stoicism offers a powerful guide. It reminds us that even in the most difficult situations, there are aspects of life that are within our control. This understanding can bring a new perspective, freeing us from the emotional chains that bind us to fear or doubt. Additionally, practices such as the dichotomy of control, reflecting on impermanence, and practicing gratitude can transform the way we face daily challenges. Throughout this video, we'll explore how Stoicism can bring clarity in times of discouragement. We'll see how this ancient philosophy can be applied to overcome negative emotions, find focus, and act wisely. By the end, you'll have not only a deeper understanding of Stoicism, but also practical tools to incorporate into your daily life. So, if you've ever wondered how to regain balance when everything seems hazy, this content is for you. Before we get started, how about subscribing to our channel to continue receiving content like this? Let's go. Discouragement is an emotion that we all experience at some point in our lives. It can arise in response to adverse circumstances, unachieved goals, or even a feeling of stagnation. Although natural, discouragement has the potential to cloud our judgment, preventing us from seeing situations clearly and acting constructively. For the Stoics, however, discouragement is not a problem in itself, but rather a reflection of how we interpret events around us. Epictetus, one of the leading Stoic philosophers, argued that men are disturbed not by things, but by the opinions they have about them. In other words, what really affects us is not what happens, but how we choose to interpret those events. This principle is fundamental to understanding the Stoic approach to discouragement. It is not caused by external circumstances, but by the way we perceive them. To illustrate, imagine that you are going through a difficult period at work. Perhaps you are not meeting your goals, or you have received negative feedback from a superior. In a conventional view, these situations could be seen as reasons for discouragement. However, for the Stoics, these circumstances are neutral. They are neither good nor bad in nature. The meaning we give to them is what determines our emotions. By adopting this perspective, we begin to see that discouragement is not inevitable. It is largely a mental construct based on misjudgments or unrealistic expectations. The Stoics encourage us to question these perceptions, asking, is this situation really as dire as it seems? Or am I reacting from reason or emotion? Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminded himself of the insignificance of many problems in the face of the vastness of time and the universe. This practice helped him to contextualize challenges and maintain a calm mind, even in adversity. The lesson here is clear. By looking at problems in a new light, we can reduce the emotional burden we carry. One of the most powerful ideas in Stoicism is the dichotomy of control, introduced by Epictetus. This concept is a central pillar of Stoic philosophy and a practical tool for dealing with moments of discouragement. It teaches us to clearly distinguish between what is within our control and what is not. Understanding this difference is critical to reducing anxiety, increasing clarity, and redirecting our efforts productively. According to Epictetus, our negative emotions often arise from trying to control the uncontrollable. He says, some things are within our control and some are not. This apparent simplicity carries a transformative depth. Within our control are our actions, thoughts, choices, and reactions. Outside of our control are external events, such as the opinions of others, other people's decisions, or unforeseeable circumstances. Why is this distinction so important in times of discouragement? Because discouragement often arises when we focus on what is beyond our control. For example, imagine that you are frustrated with an interpersonal relationship that is not evolving as you would like. Perhaps you are investing emotional energy trying to change the other person's behavior, something that is beyond your control. This frustration is, in part, caused by an unrealistic expectation that you can shape other people's behavior. Stoicism invites us to refocus our attention. Instead of wasting time and energy on external factors, we should focus on what we can control, our own actions and reactions. In this example, instead of trying to change the other person, you could ask yourself, what can I do to improve my communication? Or how can I respond more constructively to this situation? This shift in focus brings liberating clarity. When we accept that some things are simply beyond our control, we can let go of resistance and, with it, much of our discouragement. This acceptance is not synonymous with passivity, but with wisdom. It is recognizing the limits of our influence and investing energy where it can really make a difference. In practice, a good exercise to apply the dichotomy of control is to list the problems that are causing discouragement and separate them into two categories: controllable and uncontrollable. Ask yourself, what can I do about this now or in the future? If something is beyond your control, practice letting it go calmly, knowing that it is not your responsibility. Now that we understand the concept of the dichotomy of control, it is time to apply it in practical situations. When we are discouraged, our decisions can become confused, influenced by fears, doubts, or worries that are beyond our control. In this emotional state, the dichotomy of control becomes a compass that helps us navigate with greater clarity. The practical application of this principle begins with the following question: is this within my control? This simple but profound question helps to organize our thoughts and prioritize what really matters. For example, imagine that you are demotivated because of a negative review at work. At first, it may seem like everything is out of your control, but when you apply the dichotomy of control, you will realize that some actions are still within your control. You cannot change what has already been said or what the reviewer thinks, but you can control your response to the situation. You can decide how to improve your performance, or even how to face criticism in a constructive way. Another way to use this practice to make clearer decisions is to focus on specific actions that are within your control. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "Concentrate entirely on the task at hand, like a Roman and a man." He reminds us to focus our efforts on concrete actions we can take now, rather than worrying about hypothetical scenarios or past events. A powerful practice is to create a list of tangible actions to address a problem. For example, if you're feeling discouraged about a stalled project, ask yourself, what can I do now to move forward? What resources are available to me? Who can help me within my means? This approach not only reduces feelings of helplessness, but also creates a sense of purpose. Each small step you take toward a solution helps rebuild your confidence and emotional energy. Plus, by accepting what you can't change, you save mental energy to invest in what really matters. Continued practice of the dichotomy of control creates a cumulative effect. Over time, you'll find that discouragement becomes less frequent and less intense because you learn to prioritize what's within your reach. This process also strengthens your emotional resilience, allowing you to face future challenges with greater poise. One of the most comforting insights from Stoicism is the recognition that all emotions, both positive and negative, are temporary. In times of discouragement, this understanding can be a powerful source of clarity and calm. By remembering the impermanence of emotions, you can find immediate relief and avoid being consumed by momentary feelings. The Stoics believe that everything in the universe is constantly changing, including our emotions. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "Observe how everything is in constant flux, how everything is always changing and falling apart." This insight teaches us that the discouragement we feel today will not be permanent. It will pass, just like every other emotion we have ever experienced throughout our lives. This reflection on the transitory nature of emotions helps create a separation between yourself and the feeling you are experiencing. Instead of saying, "I am feeling discouraged," Stoicism suggests thinking, "I am feeling discouraged right now." This subtle shift in language is crucial because it reinforces the idea that you are not defined by a specific emotion. It is simply a temporary experience that is passing through you. The practice of observing impermanence can reduce emotional intensity. When you realize that discouragement is temporary, there is less need to react to it with despair or fear. Instead, you can face it with curiosity and patience, knowing that it will inevitably subside. In practice, one way to internalize this concept is to use a mindfulness technique inspired by the Stoics. When you're feeling discouraged, close your eyes for a few minutes and notice what's happening inside you. Ask yourself, where do I feel this discouragement in my body? How is this emotion changing over time? Can I imagine myself looking at this emotion as a cloud passing through the sky? This practice doesn't eliminate discouragement immediately, but it changes your relationship with it. Instead of being consumed by the emotion, you become an observer, which lessens its impact. Finally, by accepting impermanence, you can approach difficult times with more lightness and perspective. This clarity opens up space for constructive action rather than impulsive reactions. In the following chapters, we'll explore how other Stoic principles, such as courage and virtue, can complement this approach, helping you transform emotional challenges into opportunities for growth. The Stoics believe that life should be guided by virtues, as they are what give meaning to our actions, even in difficult times. Among these virtues, courage stands out as an indispensable strength for dealing with discouragement. When practiced consciously, courage is not just the absence of fear, but the ability to act with integrity, even in the face of emotional challenges. Stoic courage is not something reserved for grand heroic deeds. Marcus Aurelius, for example, saw courage in small, everyday actions, such as facing emotional discomfort or persevering in times of uncertainty. He said, "Be like the rock against which the waves constantly break, but which remains firm." This image illustrates the idea that discouragement can be faced with determination without being swept away by the current of emotions. Acting virtuously, another central tenet of Stoicism, is also a powerful tool for overcoming discouragement. When we focus our efforts on living in accordance with our values, such as honesty, justice, and temperance, we find purpose and clarity, even in difficult times. For example, in a moment of discouragement, you might ask yourself, what would the most virtuous person I admire do in this situation? This exercise not only helps you find direction, but it also strengthens your commitment to what is meaningful. Practicing virtue in times of discouragement can be challenging, but it is precisely in these moments that it becomes most necessary. Imagine that you are feeling discouraged about your job or a relationship. Instead of giving into apathy or frustration, choosing to act with courage and virtue might mean seeking out an honest conversation, taking steps to improve the situation, or simply continuing to act ethically, even if the results are uncertain. A helpful practice for cultivating courage and virtue is to review your actions daily. At the end of the day, reflect on the choices you made and ask yourself, did I act courageously in the face of difficulties? Did my actions reflect the values I hold dear? What could I do differently to move closer to being my best self? These reflections not only help you deal with discouragement, but they also create a sense of ongoing progress. Courage and virtue are like muscles that need to be exercised regularly, and every effort, no matter how small, contributes to strengthening your emotional resilience. One of the most emblematic practices of Stoicism is premeditatio malorum, or anticipation of evils. This technique consists of imagining possible adversities before they happen, preparing the mind to deal with challenges in a more balanced way. Although it may seem pessimistic at first glance, premeditatio malorum is not intended to feed fear, but rather to reduce its intensity by confronting it rationally. The Stoics believe that by anticipating obstacles, you are mentally inoculating yourself against the emotional impact they may have. Seneca, in his letter to Lucilius, wrote, "The hardest thing to bear is that which is unexpected. An enemy anticipated comes with less force." This idea encapsulates the essence of premeditatio malorum. To be prepared is to be stronger. The practice is simple but powerful. Take a quiet moment and visualize a situation that is causing you concern or discouragement. Imagine all the challenges that could arise, the failures, the setbacks, the unexpected reactions. Then ask yourself, how would I deal with each of these scenarios? What emotional, physical, or social resources do I have at my disposal to face them? What can I do now to better prepare myself for these difficulties? For example, suppose you are about to give an important presentation at work and you feel discouraged because of the fear of failure. During the premeditatio malorum exercise, you can imagine scenarios such as forgetting part of the content, dealing with an uninterested audience, or facing difficult questions. Instead of allowing yourself to be paralyzed by these possibilities, you can plan how you would react. Review key information before the presentation, practice answers to difficult questions, or even accept that not every presentation will be perfect, and that's okay. This process reduces uncertainty, a major cause of discouragement, and builds confidence. When the thing we fear is no longer unknown territory, facing it becomes less daunting. Another great advantage of premeditatio malorum is that it reminds us that even when faced with setbacks, the worst is rarely as devastating as we imagine. This perspective helps us face challenges with more serenity and focus, reducing the emotional burden that often accompanies discouragement. In Stoicism, gratitude is not just an emotional or spiritual practice, but a powerful tool for reorienting our thoughts and overcoming moments of discouragement. By recognizing and appreciating what we already have, even in the midst of difficulties, we create a solid foundation for mental and emotional clarity. The Stoics believe that gratitude helps us avoid focusing too much on what we lack, allowing us to face challenges with a more balanced perspective. Seneca, in one of his letters, wrote, "It is not happiness that makes us grateful, but gratitude that makes us happy." This principle reflects the idea that cultivating gratitude does not depend on external circumstances, but on a conscious choice to recognize the good things, regardless of the situation. When we feel discouraged, our minds tend to fixate on negative aspects, creating a cycle of self-defeating thoughts. Practicing gratitude interrupts this cycle. A simple and effective exercise is gratitude journaling. Writing down 3 things you are grateful for every day. They don't have to be grandiose. They can be as simple as the opportunity to learn something new, a pleasant conversation, or the comfort of a quiet place to rest. Another important aspect of Stoic gratitude is the recognition that much of what we value is not ours for good. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the transience of things, reminding himself that everything we have, our relationships, our health, our material possessions, is temporary and should be appreciated while it lasts. This practice helps us see what we have as temporary gifts, fostering a sense of genuine gratitude. In addition, Stoic gratitude encourages us to value the lessons contained in adversity. Even moments of discouragement can offer opportunities for learning and growth. Ask yourself, what is this situation trying to teach me? Or how can I use this challenge to strengthen my resilience? Practicing gratitude regularly does not mean ignoring hardships, but rather balancing the awareness of challenges with the recognition of blessings. This perspective gives us the strength to move forward, helping us see discouragement in a new light. One of the greatest gifts of Stoicism is the ability to reflect on our own actions and thoughts in a structured way. In times of discouragement, our minds often fill with confusing thoughts that can lead us to hasty conclusions or inertia. The techniques of reflection and self-questioning proposed by the Stoics help us organize these ideas, transforming them into conscious and constructive actions. Marcus Aurelius was a master of this type of practice. He often used powerful questions in his writings, such as, "Does it really matter?" Or, "Will this concern be relevant a year from now?" These simple questions help reduce the emotional burden of temporary problems, allowing us to prioritize what is essential. A useful technique inspired by the Stoics is the externalizing thought exercise. When you feel discouraged, write about the situation as if you were describing it to a friend. The goal is to bring objectivity to the situation, reducing the emotional impact. Ask yourself, what is the real root of my discouragement? Am I reacting to a fact or my interpretation of it? Is there something I can do to change the situation, or is it something I need to accept? Another valuable practice is to reflect on your position in the larger context of life. Marcus Aurelius often meditated on his own mortality to gain perspective, reminding himself that many of the problems we face are insignificant in the vast sweep of time. While this may sound uncomfortable, such reflection is liberating. By realizing that each moment is unique and unrepeatable, you feel motivated to act with courage and purpose, even in the face of discouragement. In addition, self-inquiry can help you identify distorted thoughts or limiting beliefs that are fueling your discouragement. For example, if you find yourself thinking, "I'll never get over this," ask yourself, is there evidence to support this conclusion? Or how can I reframe this idea in a more positive and realistic way? These reflections not only help you deal with immediate discouragement, but they also create a mental habit that fosters resilience and clarity in future situations. Over time, the practice of Stoic reflection becomes a natural tool for coping with emotional challenges, helping to transform chaotic thoughts into a source of wisdom. Stoicism is not just a theoretical philosophy. It is designed to be lived in everyday life. Its effectiveness lies in small practices that, when done consistently, help cultivate clarity, resilience, and emotional balance. Incorporating Stoicism into your daily life is a way to create habits that not only help you overcome discouragement, but also strengthen your mind to face future challenges. One of the practices most recommended by the Stoics is journaling. Marcus Aurelius used his meditations as a personal diary to record thoughts, reflections, and lessons learned. You can adopt a similar practice by taking a few minutes at the beginning or end of your day to write about your challenges, emotions, and achievements. Ask yourself, what challenges did I face today, and how did I respond to them? Did I act in accordance with my values and virtues? What can I improve on tomorrow? The practice of Stoic morning meditation is a great place to start approaching the day with a more centered mindset. Before you begin your routine, reflect on what might happen throughout the day: difficult encounters, unexpected events, or moments of tension. Ask yourself how a Stoic would handle these situations, visualizing a calm and rational response. This anticipation reduces the likelihood of impulsive reactions and helps you approach the day with serenity. Another essential practice is the evening review. At the end of the day, take a moment to evaluate your actions and decisions. Seneca described this practice as a way of giving yourself an account. During this review, acknowledge your mistakes without excessive blame and celebrate your successes. This habit not only improves mental clarity, but also reinforces a commitment to daily progress. Other practical elements include regularly reading Stoic texts to keep ideas fresh in your mind. Quotes and reflections from Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius can be a constant source of inspiration and a reminder of how to deal with adversity. Incorporating these readings into your routine, even if only briefly, can be an anchor to maintain focus and perspective. Remember that applying Stoicism to your daily life does not have to be perfect. Marcus Aurelius himself acknowledged his flaws and imperfections. What matters is the continued effort to live by Stoic principles, one step at a time. Small changes add up to big transformations over time. Throughout this video, we explore how Stoicism can bring clarity in times of discouragement, offering practical tools and reflections that go far beyond temporary solutions. This ancient philosophy, built on the pillars of rationality, virtue, and self-control, not only helps us overcome difficulties, but also teaches us how to live a life of purpose and meaning. Discouragement is a common experience, but Stoicism reminds us that it doesn't have to define who we are or limit our potential. Each Stoic practice discussed, from the dichotomy of control to premeditatio malorum, from gratitude to self-inquiry, gives us the opportunity to look within ourselves and find the strength to act in ways that align with our values, even in the face of challenging circumstances. The true power of Stoicism lies in its constant applicability. It's not a philosophy we use only when things are tough, but a guide for life as a whole. Incorporating Stoicism into your daily life builds a foundation of clarity, resilience, and emotional balance that will support you in any situation. As you move forward, remember that Stoicism is a journey. You don't have to apply all of its principles at once or do everything perfectly. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Spend no more time arguing about what a good man is. Be one." Every small effort to act with wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance is a step toward a clearer, more meaningful life. We end this video with a final thought. When you're feeling discouraged, ask yourself what's within your control, appreciate what you already have, and remember that even the most difficult emotions are temporary. Adjust your sails, no matter how strong the winds, and move forward with clarity. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this content or know someone who could benefit from it, please share this video and subscribe to the channel to continue receiving our content. And remember, you don't control what happens, but you do control how you choose to respond. See you later.